This Civic Media podcast is sponsored by UW Organ and Tissue Donation. Organ donations are desperately needed, and now is the right time to become an organ donor. Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. Go to heroicdeed.com.
And good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show, presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. I'm Chad Holmes, and this week it's a little bit different as Jeff Gress not available, and every year when Jeff has some activities going on over at Newman Catholic, it's nice to have a program where we can focus on what's happening in area high school hockey, and that's what we're going to do here tonight. Jeff will be back next week. We'll get back into quite a bit of the basketball talk starting next week again. But tonight we're going to focus on what's been going on here early in the campaign in high school hockey. And first of all, my co-host for the hour, the head hockey coach at Wausau West, Andy Brandt. And I tell you, I'm asking a lot of you because it's been such a busy time to start off the season. I mean, to have one of your nights off here but in a huge week, I appreciate you spending a couple of hours here.
You know I love when Jeff's absent and we can talk hockey. I'll take full advantage of that, so I appreciate being here.
And we got a full slate of guests coming up. In our second segment, we're going to talk to a guy that you know pretty well, the head coach and general manager of the Madison Capitals, former Wausau West two-time All-State selection first team, University of Wisconsin national champion, and then he's been coaching for a decade plus now. I mean,
Chad, he's never worked a real job, so he's been coaching since he stopped playing, which is you think about his time in the pros and then Division III, Division I, and now in the USHL.
And now he's up in Canada with Team USA at what's the tournament again?
It's the World Junior A Challenge.
Yep. And I had a chance to talk to him earlier today, and unfortunately, I would have loved to have had all of us in there, but had a really interesting discussion with Andy Brandt. And one thing I said to Andy as well is that he's only 41 years old, and his resume of hockey is just, and he's still just a young guy. I mean, really is. It's something to look at it, how much he's done. And I'm thinking, well, he must be older than that. He's not. He's just been doing a lot in hockey already in the last couple of decades.
He's had success. I mean, he won a Junior A national championship when he was a player. He won a college national championship with Wisconsin. Played pros for 7-8 years, and then went to St. Norbert College, wins a national championship there at the Division III level, and had the 1 year at Wisconsin, and now he's finding success in the USHL there in Madison. So it's obviously really fun to have him closer, because when he was playing his playing days, he was in Atlanta or out in Victoria, British Columbia. So we didn't get to see him as much, but it's nice to have him a little close to home.
So we'll hear from Andy Brandt coming up in about 15 minutes or so. Then in the second hour, we don't have one but two student-athlete guests this week. Coming up at 7:06, we'll talk to a Mosinee junior, Tyler Baars, and he's had himself quite a start. He has 9 goals already this season in 7 games. In fact, he's had 9 goals in the last 5 games because he's been red hot, including a hat trick on Monday against Ashwaubenon. And be interesting because you'll be trying to stop him 24 hours from now. You'll be on the ice in the first Marathon Cup semifinal. So we will have Tyler Baars coming up at 7:06, and then at 7:25 from the Central Wisconsin Storm, we'll have Gabi Heuser, who had her 100th career point this past weekend. So lots to get into tonight on the Big High School Sports Show. But I thought we'd start talking about your team because obviously 6 games into the season, quarter pull already, 6 of the 24. Incredible that it's already that quick. But last night, to start off, you faced I think I like to say the rankings are for entertainment purposes only, because they are. But I think there's not much doubt right now that Stevens Point is the best team in Wisconsin at this point of the season. You faced off a wonderful atmosphere. I mean, I was talking to folks today. Tuesday night in December. It felt like more like a sectional final in late February or a state tournament game in early March, and it was just a fantastic environment at the old Marathon Park Ice Arena. 4-3, Stevens Point with the win. You've had a night and a day to kind of digest it. What stood out about last night's game?
Well, you talk about the atmosphere. It's fun. We had the band there last night. It's always fun when the band can be there because that's unique to high school and college athletics, and it's always fun to have that group in the building because it just provides a different energy. Big student sections from both programs, parents, family. I mean, people that were just in the area knew that the game was going on, popped in, and it was fun. It had that old feel to it where this is an important game because a lot of people are here to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the way we started. First 3 minutes we couldn't get the puck out of our D zone, and then I told you in the pregame we're going to have to manage some of those situations because of how dynamic the skill level is for Point and how they move the puck, and they did a really good job of. But we did a good job of keeping them to the outside. We had a little breakdown that first shift, but scrambled a little bit, and Julian came up big a little bit in that time period too. So for us to come out and score first, I thought was what had to happen just for the psyche of our group, and we did that. Unfortunately, we gave up a goal the very next shift to tie it, to make it 1-1. And we watched all these goals today as a team today, Chad. So we saw the good and the bad. And then it's nice to execute on the power play. Yeah. I mean, it's always important. Special teams are so important to games to have the ability to execute on the power play and be up 2-1 going into the first intermission was I think it helped our guys between the years a little bit and then made them relax a little bit. And part of that, Cooper to Point had a 12-minute penalty in the first period. We played almost the entire first period without Cooper, and we were able to play really well. So I thought we were able to develop some depth in that moment too and find some different guys that can play. And then the second period was pretty even, pretty evenly matched. I think shots were in their favor, and they ended up getting a goal.
Real quick about that second period, the fact that they scored 55 seconds in and you guys were able to hold down the fort, I thought was important because it's 2-1. You're feeling good going into the second period, and then right away it's 2-2. And against a team like Stevens Point, who's always got that foot on the accelerator, that was dangerous at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was the second shift of the period. You get through the first line, you get into the next line, and we had talked about it. We had a coverage problem in neutral ice, and we worked hard enough to get underneath it, and then we just made a simple mistake. And it ends up in the net against a good team like Spash. And for us to hold, I was kind of where you were, like, oh boy, this could go either direction with our group. And I thought we did a really good job of holding, and because the second period has been so for us during the year. I mean, obviously we have the explosion of 5 goals in the second period, but it didn't have that feel to it. So it was nice to see us have a good, manageable second period, and in the third, you go in 2-2, feel like you got a good chance and opportunity, and we made a couple mistakes. But when it got to 4-2, for us to again execute on special teams, get 4-3, have the opportunity to pull the goalie, and I told our guys, like, we have to feel good about where we're at right now because that was a step forward for us. Even though we didn't win this game, I feel like we had some growth moments.
Let's talk about generally 3-3, always playing a very tough start to the season. You go to Eau Claire, face really good competition there. You always play the Milwaukee schools. Then, I mean, by the time you get to this point of the season, it's not a case where you're kind of, putting your toe in the water and you're getting used to it. You're thrown into the deep end. The record is not going to blow anybody away at this point. But in talking to you, even going back to practice, you feel like this team has some really good pieces that maybe even beyond what we've seen in recent years in terms of the danger factor for other teams. Anything change your thought process in the first 6 games based on what you told me back at the start of practice?
No, I don't think so. I think, it's all about a maturing process. And you and I have talked enough to where that it's our job and my job to put these guys in situations that they're going to see down the line. And you think about first 6 games, we've had to pull our goalie. A team has had to pull their goalie against us. Like, that's a hard one to replicate in practice. But to be able to be in that moment, we've played in overtime. We've played in 5-on-5 overtime. We've played in 3-on-3 overtime. We've had to come from behind. We've had to hold a lead. Those things matter as you stack up your regular season in preparation for the postseason. And through our first 6 games, we've had a lot of scenarios, and I think what I'm most happy with right now is our special teams. I mean, we've been able to be productive. We're not killing exactly how we want to yet. Our lack of maturity at times has allowed us to kill more opportunities, and hopefully that's something that we learn throughout the season.
Let's talk a little bit about your team because again, as you look at the forwards, the defensemen, and the goaltending, I think the pieces are there. I think it's a case where you don't say, well, we're going to have to cover really bad in one area or another. No, if your guys play at the level that I think that you expect them to play, they can all be strengths on an average high school hockey team. Starting with the forwards, one thing that's kind of jumped out this year is the fact that you have a really dynamic first line with a couple of juniors and a sophomore, but at the same time, you've had a number of lines that have really jumped out, and you've had some injury issues that's kind of changed things up as well. I think offensively, this is as dynamic 1, 2, 3, and sometimes you can get off their fourth line that you've had in a while. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the balance and the scoring. All lines have scored significant goals throughout the year, whether it's 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 or special teams. I mean, you look at who's contributing and how they're contributing. It's a pretty balanced attack from us, and I think that's what can make us dangerous, and I think that's what hopefully builds confidence as the season builds here, is that we understand what we have in our lineup. On the forward side, we're able to share the puck, and we're able to move things and make the right play, and the puck should move on time and some of those things. And I really like our forward group all the way through our 12 forwards. You look at them, and you can put guys in situations, and they're going to perform.
Last night, I mean, again, you have a young man who got his first goal, Tyler Wendell, in Saturday's game, had 2 goals. And then you have Olin Pergalski, who's a sophomore, who scored a goal as well. And he's playing with a couple of guys who have really proven themselves early because, I mean, they're only juniors, both Chase Crass and also Cooper DePoit. The younger players are really becoming a major factor, and they've been a major factor for your team.
Well, part of that is experience. They've had time in the varsity side of life to understand the pace, understand the decision making, and the experience to see what it's like to play at 7:00 against good opponents. And those guys have all done a really good job. And you look at the lineup that we've got, and those guys are a bulk of our roster. That's a huge part of our roster, and between our senior and junior group, they're going to have to perform, and they're going to have to lead us a little bit. And obviously you get a couple sophomores in there to contribute, and you start talking about some fun things. And Owen's been able to jump in with those guys and fit right in right away, and that's been really fun to watch.
And then the line featuring both of the Damros, Hendricks and Cade, along with Caden Boleen, they've taken steps forward this year. I think they've been much more active and much more dangerous as well than what we saw last year.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the scoring opportunities created last night, it was from those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they created chances last night. They just weren't able to find the puck to the back of the net. You look at Caden Boleen at a really nice rush. He leans in on the defenseman and beats the goalie of the post and hits the post. I think there were some really good opportunities created by that group, and they've been pretty consistent in how they create the opportunities. Now we're just working on finishing them. Like, obviously, Cade's got a couple goals from about the same spot on the rink because he knows where to go and is ready for it and can shoot the puck well. Hendricks does a really good job down low, and he's good at creating time and space for himself. And now we're working on what the next play looks like. And Caden, he's a kid that's been there for 4 years now at the varsity level and has made some progress, and he's working through some things right now. And I think that the more confidence he gets and the more he plays with confidence, I think you'll see some more production.
Your defense grouping has been challenged this year. I mean, obviously you're playing such good hockey teams that have the ability to get up the ice and just put a lot of pressure on. The thing is, you got a number of pairings that more, I think, depth than most teams have on the blue line. And at the same time, though, they're still learning and taking those steps forward to take that level against top-ranked teams. How do you look at your defensemen? Because I think there's a lot there, but at the same time, there's always, I think, things that you're trying to improve on as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at they've got a lot of experience back there. I mean, between Shea, Joe, and Tegan as juniors and Ethan and Drake as seniors, those are guys that have had a significant amount of ice time.
Not many teams have that many experienced D-men, do they?
And it's really it's fun because it creates a competitive environment in practice, and those guys know that they're competing for their minutes. And we, as you saw last night's game, we played multiple combinations of pairings, and we have throughout the year to try to find what works, try to find what fits, and getting those guys to do simple things. I mean, last night when we had some breakdowns, the D got a little more complex than we wanted them to, and we're just trying to make the game a little simpler for them because each of them has their strengths, each of them has their limitations, and then we're trying to work in there and find the way to play to their strengths.
And goaltending, and Julian Scalcucci, only a sophomore. I'm going to admit, I really like that kid. I've enjoyed watching him as a freshman and as a sophomore being put in these situations against really good opponents, being asked to take a lot of the weight on his shoulders. I mean, that game at Hudson last year in the playoffs, he gave you a chance to win a hockey game that probably you should not have been in that game because they were so dominant in terms of the shots on net and really good opportunities, but he kept making save after save and gave yourself a chance to win. And then early this season, a lot of the same, that he is facing these really good teams and still just a sophomore. Very, very impressive, isn't he?
He is. He conducts himself like a professional, and I think the number one critic in his life is him on himself. I think that's one of his greatest assets is he has an ability to be honest with where he's at, with how he's doing. He's a good communicator with his coaches. I think he's somebody that has a lot of experience right now, and I think as a sophomore going into it, he's got to make sure that he performs because I think he's a little bit of our pulse. We got to make sure that he's in the game. We don't want him in the game completely, but obviously he's a big part of it. He's active back there on the back end. He helps our defensemen, and that's the other part of the growth part is Julian handles the puck really well as a goaltender, and that can be a huge asset for you as long as we communicate through the process, and he's done that so far, and certainly what he's done up to this point has been good for our program.
It has been a lot of action, 6 games, but that still means there are 18 more in the regular season, and you've already had these really good non-conference games against Eau Claire Memorial and Superior and Waukesha and University School. But I'm looking ahead. I mean, you got Mosinee, who's always a handful tomorrow night. You have a road game next week at Chippewa Falls, who's always a handful. Then you have the showdown in Titletown with Springs. I mean, they got a few banners in recent years. You got Notre Dame Academy, the 2-time defending state champs, and we saw them looking pretty stout over in Eau Claire. You got Verona, who's always been up there as well, and then you still have later in the season Eau Claire North, who's a little bit down. Maybe that's not quite the same level, but then you have New Richmond, who has been in Division II. They've been so good, they've been pushed up into your bracket in Division I this year. You have Neenah Hortonville Menasha, who's going to be definitely a factor. I mean, and then, of course, you have the Wisconsin Valley Conference games, which, again, showed last night why those are so vitally important. I mean, as you look between now and February 13th when you wrap up the regular season, there are no breathers, are there?
No, and that's intentional. You want to make sure that you've prepared these guys for the postseason and that they're going in confident and that they've played in so many situations, and we get to try different line combinations to make sure the buttons are pushed in the right way. And I think part of that is our non-conference schedule and building that a little bit. And obviously we go to Green Bay. We played, the defending Division II state champ who are now pushed to Division I, right. The 2-time defending Division I state champion, and then Verona, who has multiple state championships in their program. And that's a back-to-back games, and you look at, okay, guys, how can we manage this? How can we grow up a little bit on this trip? And I think it's totally intentional, and it just hopefully prepares us for down the road.
And I didn't even mention the 2 games you have at your Wausau West Hockey Invitational, where you bring in some really good competition as well. So, I mean, it's just pretty stout, to say the least. We're going to come back later in the hour, talk about the rest of the conference, because obviously you got a little sense already. We'll talk a little bit about the Big Rivers, because there's so many teams in your bracket that you have to keep an eye on. Talk a little bit about the GNC, which is the other conference here, the Division II conference in our area. We'll have our student-athlete guest coming up in the second hour. We'll then wrap it up by talking about the Marathon Cup and other things as well. But I think it's time to... You haven't heard the interview yet, so you get a chance to listen in here.
Yeah, this will be fun.
So coming up in 1 minute, earlier today, I had a chance to talk to Andy Brandt. Again, what a resume he has had in his young hockey life, and we'll hear from him coming up next as we continue on the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. Thursday, it's the start of the Marathon Cup hockey tournament with the semifinals. Wausau West, winners of 17 straight Marathon Cups, starts their journey for number 18, taking on Mosinee. Hear all the exciting action on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 5:20 and the opening face-off at 5:30. Wausau West Hockey on WXCO is brought to you by the Cloverbelt Credit Union, Red Robin Restaurant, Sun Printing, Coast to Coast Marketing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, and the Wausau West Hockey Booster Club. It's Wausau West taking on Mosinee in the semifinals of the Marathon Cup. Thursday, starting with the pregame show at 5:20, face-off at 5:30 on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. We're going to step away from the normal flow of the program. We'll have BJ Brandt back with us in a few moments, but unfortunately, the timing of everything, we have to pre-record with BJ's brother, Andy Brandt, Wausau West hockey legend, and currently the head coach and general manager of the Madison Capitals of the United States Hockey League, and in fact, right now, serving as an assistant coach for Team USA, the U.S. Junior Select team that's competing in the Worlds over in Alberta. Correct? Andy Brandt, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I wanted to start a little bit because this is the Big High School Sports Show, and of course you had a stellar career at Wausau West, All-State a couple of times, graduated in 2001. This week, big week with the Marathon Cup, had the big game against Stevens Point last night, packed Marathon Park Ice Arena, just a fantastic atmosphere. As you think back to your years at Wausau West, what was maybe the biggest highlight? What sticks with you all these years later from your high school days?
Well, I think for me personally, it's kind of where I popped. Coming in as a freshman, I didn't really know what to expect. There was a great group of guys in front of us there. I think when you talk about kind of where West started to gain some traction was with, BJ's group, maybe a group or two older than BJ's group. And then every class that followed was really, really talented. And I think above all else, we competed pretty hard. I think Pete doesn't get enough credit sometimes, certainly for the players that come through that program. A lot of them leave as more mature, better people. But a memory that sticks out, ironically, probably would be losing in the state finals my junior year. Really talented group. I think we lost to Madison Memorial. But just the experience of being able to go to 4 state tournaments was really, really special.
What does the Marathon Cup mean to you, or meant to you?
Well, we had a lot of success. I think the rivalry piece of knowing that Marathon County, like we always took pride in being the best or wanting to be the best in our area. So I think I could be wrong here. I think we won it 3 times and we lost it to East one year, if I remember correctly. But just the competition, the fan base, you said it last night, a packed Marathon Park can be a really electric, fun place. And as a student athlete, that's one of the things that you cherish about sports is being able to play in front of your student body and have, your friends and family be there to cheer you on. And it can create a really fun environment.
You mentioned Pete Susans as a coach, and one of the things that kind of jumps out when I'm getting ready to talk to you again, and I just go back and recap your biography. It's amazing your hockey journey, how much has occurred, and you're still a very young guy. I mean, in terms of your hockey life, you still have so much in front of you. But as a coach now, what do you take away from what you remembered with what Pete did during those days? Are there things that you now, being a coach, appreciate even more about what Pete Susans was as a coach back during your high school days?
Yeah, I think the thing that you don't recognize in the moment is the relationship, and how important the coach-player relationship is. And I think we all felt Pete really cared about us as people. And I think once you're able to establish that connection with a young man or with a player, I think that's really when you see him grow, because we as people, obviously, when there's people that believe in you and show a care factor, there's a little bit more for you as an athlete. When Pete asks you about your class schedule, asks you about your family, asks you about your social life, it's not necessarily always about hockey. And I think that's what he did really, really well. Is we all knew that could he be firm and get upset? Yeah, certainly. And we all experienced it. But it was coming from a place of care. Like, he truly wanted to make us not only better hockey players, but better people.
Again, we're talking to Andy Brandt, the head coach and general manager of the Madison Capitals, Wausau West grad, University of Wisconsin national champion, and been basically a hockey lifer, and glad to have him here on the Big High School Sports Show. One of the aspects of this program is we bring on student athletes, and we talk to them about, their sports, their school, everything that's going on, and often we talk about what they hope to do in the future. And one aspect that hockey is a little different than maybe some of the other sports is you can be one of the best hockey players here in the state of Wisconsin at the high school level, middle school level, juniors and all the likes. The road to getting to the University of Wisconsin, the road to getting to a professional career, I think is in some ways a lot more difficult. A lot is asked of hockey players and their families, and you being with the Capitals and obviously on that road, and you've seen it at St. Norbert and at Wisconsin as a coach as well. What are maybe a little bit of advice, maybe a little bit of wisdom that maybe parents of hockey players that are just very young and getting towards the high school level, and even high school athletes, about the challenges that you've found in your playing career, where you went on to play at Wisconsin, play in the pros for 6 years? The journey, it can be very difficult, even for the most talented hockey players, right?
Yeah, I think. I mean, if I'm looking back on it, I think it's changed a little bit. I do think there's more pressure on kids these days. I do think at times it gets a little too specific in terms of what's asked of a student athlete year round nowadays. I personally never felt the pressure. I do think in order to have longevity in your career, I do think you need some breaks. Work ethic is always important. There's players with God-given talent. There's players with work ethic. And all of us as people will compare ourselves to others. I think comparison can be the root of all evil. I think us as individuals, especially in today's society with social media and the availability to compare yourself to others, I just think you have to focus on yourself. I think the family aspect is really important. I think the support and guidance from not only your family, but the people you surround yourself with is really important. And it's not necessarily support in terms of what they're doing with a specific sport. It's just encouraging them to be themselves, to stick with the process. You mentioned hockey's a little bit different. It can be a long game. For example, I didn't go into the University of Wisconsin until I was 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to a little bit non-traditional. I played all 4 years of high school hockey. Some kids will leave early these days. But one thing I remember specifically from my parents is I did want to leave early. I did want to go play juniors my senior year. And I thank my mom and dad every day now that I didn't. It was important for me. And the one thing I remember them saying all the time is we grew up with a friendship group and a team, and it wouldn't be fair to them if I left. So that relationship, I didn't, in the moment, I didn't see it. I didn't understand it. I certainly do now. So I just think those kind of hints or that kind of guidance of a young man that I didn't see in the moment, I look back on now, and it was really, really important. And I think it helped me grow. And it helped me understand the importance of playing the long game. And it's okay to not rush to something that I think might be better personally. So really lucky to have my mom and dad give me that advice. And again, I didn't necessarily agree with it or want to hear it, but it was really important for me. So that piece of just the support, in not putting pressure on the student athlete, just guiding them along, giving them what they need. And sometimes it's advice and sometimes it's tough love. But all of it's important. And at the end of the day, if you're willing to work hard and stick with the process and see things through, I'm a true believer that it typically works out for you.
You've had, opportunities to recruit at St. Norb's and at Wisconsin, and now as the coach and the GM with the Capitals, and you worked down in Atlanta right after your playing career as well. What do you look for kids at the high school level right now? I mean, obviously you keep an eye on, when you were bringing kids up to the college level, and obviously you said there's that little gap sometimes where you go from high school to the juniors and then to the college level, and now especially when you're with the Capitals. What is it that you look at? Maybe for, say, kids that were at Wausau West right now, or kids that are playing here in central Wisconsin. What is it that you look at that say, okay, these are the kids that are going to be able to make those next steps? Or again, maybe when you talk to them and say, hey, there's one thing that you often see that they need to do better or need to be thinking about before taking those next steps.
Yeah, Chad, like for me, my recruiting thought process really changed when I got to St. Norbert College, and I worked for Tim Coughlin. And man, that was probably the most important time I had in my career as a coach, just being able to surround myself with Coach Coughlin and watch him interact with players, understand why they've had the success that they've had prior to me getting there, and what was really important to him. Obviously the skill piece, most kids in today's game have skill. Most kids in today's game can skate. One thing that Coach Coughlin put a premium on was character. No issues off the ice. We put a premium on leadership. Guys that wore letters at their school or junior program. We really tried to interact with them. The recruiting piece is about relationship building and being able to connect with not only the player, but their family is really important. So, and it's something I've tried to carry to Wisconsin for a year, and certainly here in Madison, is making sure we're getting the right player character-wise in our locker room. Because, like I said, a lot of kids are talented these days, but there are small things that'll separate guys. Body language is important to us, and I say that in all fairness. Like, I was a really emotional kid, especially at Wausau West. And I had to learn to kind of harness that. And I had a coach that allowed me and taught me to do that. And that's why it's really important to get to know the kid, the player, the family. That piece is really important because you get to learn a little bit more about them every time you talk to them or ask questions. So talent is there. There's a lot of talented kids out there. I put a premium on the character of the kid, their family, our conversations, how we interact, because that's how we learn a little bit how to coach a player. And I think that relationship piece is really important.
One thing I would love to have had if BJ could have been part of this conversation is, the coaching pathways, because BJ's been on staff at Wausau West for a very long time. He's doing just a fantastic job with the young men here at Wausau West, and you've had to move around a little bit. And I think whenever I look at coaching, especially assistant coaches, but all coaches at the college level, and in your case in hockey at the junior levels, there can be a lot of movement. What are some of the challenges that you've had in your coaching career since you ended your playing career, went right into coaching? What is it like where you have these different situations you have to move? Obviously, it must have been difficult. You took the leap to go from St. Norbert's to Wisconsin, knowing the situation where there was that possibility it could be, a change after a year, and unfortunately that did happen. As you look at your coaching career and then BJ's, where he's been here at Wausau West for such a long time, what kind of different challenges are there when different pathways within your family?
Well, it's a supportive wife. My wife Ashley is extremely supportive, encouraging. Obviously, I'm not able to do what I do without her support, and now we have 2 young kids, so their support, and I appreciate Live Barn more than people know, because I am away and I don't get to watch my son play as often as I'd like. But it's just the support system and the people around you that allow you to do the things you love to do. And I truly love to coach. I've gotten younger in terms of the age of players that I've coached throughout my career. I started up in pro hockey and kind of got catapulted into that, which was an unbelievable learning experience for me. Then I went to the D3 level with Coach Coughlin at St. Norbert, where players usually came in at 20 years old to the Division III school. Then at University of Wisconsin, where you're coaching and recruiting 16 to 18-year-old kids. Kids will come in at 18 years old. And now here I am in junior hockey, where we do coach 16-year-olds up to 20-year-olds. So the pathway, I wouldn't change it for anything. Like I said, I think the move from pro hockey to St. Norbert College was so pivotal in my career, and being able to learn from Coach Coughlin and be around him for 5 years. And he was a really large part in my move to the University of Wisconsin, because I wasn't sure I wanted to do it as much as people probably would say on the outside. Like it was an awesome move, but I wasn't sure I wanted to do it, knowing some circumstances. And then Coach really pushed me to do it. And I knew Coach Mark Osiki, from my time playing for him. So I had that relationship with him. And I know he played a huge role in getting me there as a coach. And then Tony Granato, I didn't know Tony, but man, talk about an unbelievable human being and how he treats people and how he does things. And, even though it didn't work, I keep in touch with Mark and Tony weekly. They reach out, the connections, Coach Coughlin, him and I were exchanging some text messages last night. So as a coach moving around, you try to keep in touch with some of the guys that have kind of taught you, or guys you look up to. And I would put my brother in that boat. Certainly. Him and I talk almost daily about, positives and negatives at times. We can be sounding boards for each other at times. So that piece of moving around is part of the job, especially at the level sometimes that I've been able to coach. But again, it goes back to your support system with my wife and family, and then creating. I've been really fortunate to be able to work alongside and work with some unbelievable people, starting with Coach Coughlin and Mark and Tony, and obviously the connection with my brother. But even here in Madison, I have 2 unbelievable assistant coaches that are doing a great job when I'm not there. So Tom Gilbert, Dominic Zombo, obviously Tom and I had the relationship from the University of Wisconsin. So to have him there every day, Shane Conley is our goalie coach, again, a guy that I played with and coached with at the University of Wisconsin. it's about your support staff, and especially when you're a head coach, you're only as good as the people that help you out. And I'm really, really fortunate to have a lot of good people around.
And I guess my final question will be, as we're talking to you with the USA Hockey insignia on your chest, I imagine that's very special. Just looking at you wearing that makes me smile, because I mean, it must be just fantastic to be part of a national team and be part of that coaching staff.
Yeah, it's something that is new for me. A great honor. Mark Boxer at USA Hockey Match maybe called and asked if I'd be a part of the staff, and obviously I was thrilled to do that. And first time, it's been a fun experience. We're 2 games deep. We were able to pick up a win against Canada East. The first game we lost yesterday afternoon to Sweden. We have a day off here today, and then play Canada West tomorrow. Those are all the prelim rounds, and then we'll get into potential medal rounds here on Saturday and Sunday. So again, it doesn't happen without my wife, my kids' support. I've been up here. I'll be up here for 2 weeks. And then obviously I touched on the staff back in Madison, kind of allowing me to step away from the Capitals. The players, our players, certainly I'm thankful that they understand we have 5 of our players currently up here with us, which is a large number. We have the most players within the USHL up here, like I said, with 5, 3 forwards, 1 defenseman, and a goaltender. So I'm asking a lot of the guys back in Madison to make sure that they're helping us out when we're not there. They've allowed us to come up here and represent our country, and they've done a great job. They picked up 2 wins last weekend with a shorthanded group. They have 2 more games before we break for the holidays this upcoming weekend. So again, they've done a great job back there. I'm proud to represent the country. I'm excited to continue to be a part of this up here. And I'm thankful for our group and obviously the support of everybody back home.
Fantastic. Again, Andy Brandt, the head coach, general manager of the Madison Capitals, of a 2001 graduate of Wausau West, national champion with the Wisconsin Badgers. And again, I was so impressed looking at your resume. But are you 41? Is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean, you've had already a great hockey life, and it's going to continue. And really, I know a lot of folks here are proud of you in Central Wisconsin. And again, appreciate your time and joining us tonight.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it.
We'll take a quick time out, come back. More on the Big High School Sports Show coming up next here on 98.9 WXCO. On Friday night, the Wausau West High School boys basketball team opens up play in the Wisconsin Valley Conference, traveling to Stevens Point to take on the Panthers. Hear all the exciting action live on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Coverage begins with the pregame show at 7 p.m., and the opening tip-off is set for 7:15. Wausau West Sports on 98.9 WXCO is brought to you by the Cloverbell Credit Union, Red Robin Restaurants, Sun Printing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, Coast to Coast Marketing. It's Wausau West at Stevens Point in Wisconsin Valley Conference boys basketball. Friday night, starting with the pregame show at 7, opening tip at 7:15 on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. I'm Chad Holmes. Again, a bit of a special hockey show here this evening. Jeff Gress not available, so bringing in Wausau West hockey coach BJ Brandt to be with us for the 2 hours. And any thoughts, anything you'd like to add about Andy after that discussion we had?
No, I think it's, he has so much experience in coaching, in playing, and the recruiting side of it, it's just kind of fun to sit back and listen to him reflect a little bit, because we don't always get that time to reflect, and I felt like you did a good job of making him reflect a little bit on his time in high school, his time at Wisconsin and juniors, and obviously his coaching path.
It sounds like I found it interesting when he said that back when he was in high school, he had maybe a little edge to him, a little.
Yeah, the wires would cross once in a while. I think that was part of who he was as a player, and why he was as good as he was. And I think Pete was able to guide him a little bit in the right direction, and obviously he found a way.
And really, as I said, very impressive resume, and it's so early yet. I mean, still such a young guy to be able to have so much experience. It'll be very interesting to see what the future holds for him. I'm sure it'll be very, very exciting for you and your family as well. So
absolutely,
it was great to be able to talk to him from Alberta, as he is again up there coaching with that international tournament. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the Wisconsin Valley Conference, because as you look at it right now, very early, everybody's played 2 games. You got Stevens Point, who obviously is very impressive. We talked about them a bit earlier, but then you have DC Everest, who's 5-1 overall. They're 2-0 in the WVC. You have Wausau West at 1-1 in the conference, as we talked about with the Warriors earlier. Also, Wisconsin Rapids got their first conference win and their first overall win last night, defeating EMU by a score of 6-3, and then Marshfield and EMU are both 0-2. When you look at, I guess I'll give a sort of an overarching here, that I think EMU has already won 3 games, which I think they've had a pretty good start to the season. And even last night, I was looking at that game. It was a 3-goal outburst by Wisconsin Rapids very late in the second period. That was kind of the difference in that game. And then even Marshfield. I mean, you knocked off Marshfield last week 9-1. They went over to Everest, and they battled. I mean, they were down 3-1 going to the third, got a couple of goals. It had to be a rough one. I mean, you battle like that, and then to give up a goal with about 30 seconds to go and lose to Everest. But as you look at the teams other than West and Stevens Point, what do you see with that group?
I think I see some balance this year. You look at the teams that are finding success within their schedule and trying to apply that to the Wisconsin Valley Conference. I think, you look at Marshfield, that's a heck of a bounce back from when we played them to play a really good Everest team tight to a 4-3 loss. I mean, that's an impressive turnaround for them. And I know a lot of their stuff will depend on how they defend and that. But you look at East Merrill with 3 wins already on the year. They've played really good hockey. You look at they're scoring a lot. They're up in their scoring a little bit from a year ago. Marshfield, I think, will get better as the year goes on because they're a little bit young and inexperienced at the moment. Rapids, Coach Mack has those guys playing well all the time, and obviously they've started a little bit slow this year. They're a little light in numbers this year, and I know he'll get them dialed in, and they'll be playing great hockey by the end of the year. That's just his experience and what he'll do. And obviously Everest is off to a great start. I mean, 5-1, 2-0 in the Valley, and we go into the Marathon Cup, and we know we're going to see him at some point in these next 3 games.
Everest said their goaltending is always scary, isn't it?
They find a way to have great goaltending this year, no different with Griffin Bonnell in net for them, and looking at their team picture, they got a few other guys in the waiting too. So he's somebody that has a lot of varsity experience for them, and I know will drive their bus a little bit.
It's going to talk about the BRC. Big Rivers, because there's so many teams. I mean, you can't help but watch them because this new super sectional that you're part of, since we've gone from 8 teams in one division to 2 divisions of 4 teams each, and you got the Hudson Raiders, and I gotta say I'm kind of happy not to have to deal with a trip over there until, who knows, maybe in the playoffs. You never know. Obviously, they're 2-0 and 4-0 overall. River Falls 2-0 and 2-3 overall. Eau Claire Memorial, obviously saw them in the opener, 1-0-1, 2-1-1. New Richmond, who you'll see later on the road, 1-1, 3-1. Rice Lake 1-1, 1-2, and then Chippewa Falls, and that's actually surprising because they, I think, ran the table last year, if I'm not mistaken, and they're 0-1-1 so far, and they're 1-2-1, and then Eau Claire North and Menominee both looking for their first conference wins. Big River is always exceptionally competitive. What's your take on those teams, especially the teams that you have to deal with either on the ice during the regular season or perhaps during the playoffs as well?
I mean, if you look at their conference, they've got 8 teams, 5 Division I teams, 3 Division II teams. So those teams will separate out a little bit. But New Richmond's made the jump from from Division II to Division I, just based on their competitive factor that the WIA's put in there. I think they're going to see some balance over there. I think Hudson has decided this year that if you look at their schedule, they're a lot more Minnesota-based. So they've got a few more Minnesota teams in their non-conference schedule, and they'll play their conference schedule and then a few teams from our state. But that's that they've decided to build their schedule that way. So I think there'll be a little bit of a mystery until they start playing the back-to-backs to get the home and homes in the conference. Obviously, Eau Claire Memorial and Chippewa Falls battled to a tie early on, just after the first weekend there, and then River Falls was able to beat Chippewa. And you look at River Falls as a strong Division II program. They've been to the state tournament. It'll be interesting to see that conference shake out, because it does. You look at our sectional; it's basically a blend of that, and then you throw Superior in there, who does a good job of balancing their schedule out between the Big Rivers Conference and then
they've been playing a lot of Big Rivers already,
and they've had to. So you look at that, because sometimes as a coach, when you go through the seeding process, you initially do it. And then if you have some comparatives, conference standings do matter, and where they finish in conference can sometimes help determine a seed. So when you look at the way that we've seeded out the last few years, you've got our conference champion, and their conference champion will always be fighting for that one seed, and then the rest of us are battling for whatever's next in there. And a lot of times conference standings can play a factor.
But you give yourself good opportunities to impress by playing all these non-conference games. I mean, it's obvious you play almost everybody. I mean, quite a few. I mean, so you give yourself an opportunity to work your way up, because as we talked about in Marshfield, most of your games are non-conference games. You have to do it this way.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the way you only get 10 conference games, you get 24, so you have more non-conference games. Absolutely.
Great Northern, Tomahawk, really they're in a good run right now. I mean, they made it to the state tournament. They really, I mean, I thought one of the more impressive games that we saw in the playoffs last year was when they went to Mosinee for that sectional final and won by a score of 8-2. They were off to a good start. Mosinee's won 4 games in a row now. They got off to an 0-3 start. They're now 4-3 overall. Lakeland and Anago both won their conference openers. Pines, Rhinelander, Medford, and Wapaka. Pines took Mosinee to overtime before losing in their conference opener. They won in overtime last night against Pacelli, but I would say Tomahawk right now is a team that looks pretty solid, don't they?
Yeah, I think right now they're Division I ranked in the top 6. I think they might be number 1.
Yeah, Division 2.
Division 2, yep, number 1 in the Division 2 bracket. I mean, they've got a lot of skill and a lot of talent up there. Going to the state tournament last year, they didn't graduate a ton from that team. So I know that they're looking at the opportunity to maybe make a run, but this is their sectional essentially. I think they've got to make sure that they go through that process and play with their within their conference. Sometimes that's the challenging part, though, Chad, is you're going to play these teams 3 times, and it's all, every game gets closer and closer as you go, as coaches dive into the weeds a little bit to try to find a way to beat them, because you only got to beat them once when it comes to playoffs.
Yep.
So that can be both a blessing and a curse for that conference.
So very, very interesting indeed. We'll talk about what's upcoming. We'll talk a little bit about what the Storm has been up to as well on the girls' side in the next hour. But coming up, we'll have our 2 student-athlete guests. Tyler Baars from...
You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
It's the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. And again, you can also get it as a podcast. As soon as the show gets done, I will get it up and on our website. Also, if you are on Spotify or Google or Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the Big High School Sports Show. Don't miss any of our episodes, and be able to tune in at your leisure. With current Wausau West head hockey coach B.J. Brannigan sitting in because Jeff Gress is unavailable tonight, so we're giving it a full hockey feel for this evening. Coming up in just a little bit, we'll have a second student-athlete guest from the Central Wisconsin Storm, Gabi Heuser, but to start things off, our first student-athlete guest from Mosinee High School junior, Tyler Baars. And Tyler, thank you for coming on over tonight.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
I know it's a busy week because obviously it's always a very exciting week with the Marathon Cup. But looking at your season so far, let's talk about your team generally first to begin with, because you started off with 3 straight losses, and now you've won 4 games in a row. What's been the biggest difference for your team in the last 4 games that have allowed you to get off to a pretty decent start?
I think we've just been like a better family and playing for each other instead of playing for like ourselves and for points. At the beginning of the season, we were looking to, score a goal for the team or carry the team because we lost a lot of seniors last year. And now we're just playing together, passing the puck well, forechecking well, and that's really been helping out.
Let me ask one more question, then I'll let BJ ask a question. But you mentioned the fact that you did have a lot of seniors last season, and that does change roles. And I think just jumping out real quickly about your game is that you've already scored more goals this season than you did all of last year. Obviously, when there's a lot of production that is graduated, players have to step into different roles. Is that also a key in the last 4 games, that everybody on your team is getting a better feel for what they need to do for your team to be successful?
Yeah, 100%. For me, I think that we don't have as many goals scored in the first 3 games, so we've just needed to find an energy boost to score those goals. And I think Elliot, Yurkuski, Mark, the foreign, and we've been getting a lot of shots, but not finding the back in net. And then on Monday, we were able to do that. So I just think all around, we've been able to find what we're supposed to do, and that's been helping out a lot. So,
you have a question for BJ?
I do. Talk a little bit about the transition. You go from a role player, in your first couple of years to now you're being relied on. What's changed for you, and how do you handle that a little bit differently now that you're an upperclassman within your program and a leader that they're looking to?
Just knowing that they're looking at me as that and having the confidence in me to be able to go out and do it is really a big thing for me. Like in the past years, they're not looking for me to go score all those goals, but now they are. So I know I have to be in that position and take over.
That said, even not being in a position where they're asking you to score a lot of goals as a freshman and as a sophomore, having the opportunity to play on the varsity team as a young player, I imagine that experience has helped a lot for you at the beginning of your junior year. And then, talking about becoming a leader, I mean, you're still just starting your junior campaign, but that experience at the varsity level, how much did that help you in terms of getting ready for a good start this year?
Yeah, it's helped a lot. Just knowing the speed of the game from the past 2 years has helped a lot. So, like, the intensity of the game has to be high at every aspect of the game, which bringing it to this year, even I was talking to my teammate on Monday, the game seemed to slow down from the past 2 years to the beginning of this year. It just seems I'm playing with more confidence. The game's slowing down. Passes are easier, crispier, and just leading to more success.
You got a question?
Yeah. Obviously we're talking about hockey, and this is a part of your athletic career. What other sports do you participate in, and what else do you enjoy to do besides hockey?
As of now, I just play hockey and baseball, and I love to hunt, fish, just get outdoors and enjoy what's been created for us.
What is your favorite class in school? That's always the hard one.
I never used to really like social studies, but I've actually this year I began to like economic class, which that's not really social studies, but like in that general direction, that's been kind of fun for me.
How old were you when you first started playing hockey?
I think I was 6. So I'm actually the only person within cousins, like aunts, uncles, that's played hockey. So I originally was going to play basketball, and my dad just decided it's time to go play some hockey. So
How tall are you?
like 5'9", 5'10".
That's why.
That is the reason. I didn't want to say it.
I thought I'd bring that up. Exactly right. Again, we're talking to Mosinee Junior Tyler Baars here on the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO. You've had 2 hat tricks. You had one on Monday, but let's talk about the first one because it was a conference game. It was against Northern Pines, which is always a big game just because it's Pines. I know they've been down a little bit, but they're still got that great tradition. And your team was down 3-1 in the third period, and ultimately you were able to come back. You had 3 of the 4 goals in the game, 4-3 overtime win, and you lit the lamp in overtime to complete the hat trick and get the W. Was that a highlight of your hockey career?
Yeah, most definitely. I have not felt something like that in my hockey career. And I don't know, it was just after the second period being down 3-1, the locker room didn't feel the same. Nobody really had the energy. And then Elliot and I stepped up and we were like, it's time to go. We got a chance. We can either make something out of it or we can sit back and let it get out of our reach. So we decided that it was time to go, and we were able to do it.
Has that sparked the last couple of games as well? Because you had won for your first game against Houghton, and then to play Pines, you had 1-3 at the time. Did you learn something about your teammates that night? Did you learn something about yourself? Because those are the kind of games that can build character within a team, correct?
Yeah, most definitely. Like I was saying before, just being a family has really helped. And that game really showed me, like, when we won, we were all so excited. Even the JV kids who played before us were still at the game watching, congratulating all of us. And that's a big thing, too. So I think it just, us being closer together helps not only off the ice, but on the ice, too.
Well, real fast, one more quick question, then I'll let you jump back in. I want to kind of go back to, when you started playing hockey. It's one thing to start playing hockey, but then to continue to do it and say, hey, this is something I really want to put my time and my effort into. What is it about the game? What is it about playing hockey that connects with you and has allowed you to continue and try to keep getting better and better?
To start, it's just being part of the team, and even the coaches. You're going with the coaches, you're going with all the players, making you more of a family. But just the intensity of the game and how fast the game moves, so you have to be ready at all points. And I don't know, I enjoy that. I enjoy the intensity and having to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about Coach Kuklinski, first year head coach, obviously a hockey name, and what it's like to be with him with his first 7 games as a high school head coach.
It's nice. He does push us to skate a lot, which will help us in the long run. But at that point, we might not like it. But he's good. He knows his stuff, and just like I said, you can tell he is part of the team and wants us to strive for greatness and the best that we can do. So,
what area does your team need to get better at? What, in terms of trying to reach the goals? I imagine that it starts obviously with trying to win a Marathon Cup and then trying to win a conference championship, and moving from that point. What areas as you've seen the first 7 games, does your team have to get better at?
I think there's just certain parts of like the game where, if you break it down, our second periods haven't been great. I don't know why, but just playing a complete game and not having minor breakdowns during the game that really affect all those close games. Because like even the first 3 games, we lost by 1 in 2 of those losses, and they were just minor breakdowns. So I think just playing a complete game will help us throughout the rest of the season.
Okay. I always want to see if you had a question. When besides yourself, what are the biggest strengths of this team?
I think we all want to do it for each other, and we're not really worried about who has the most points, who has this, but we want to win as a team. We have great leadership, and it's helped us with the last 4 games, and any adversity that we have, we just want to keep overcoming.
Who's on the line with you?
Elliot Yerkuski and Mark Kajonka. He's a foreign exchange student. So.
What's that like?
It's nice. Well, there's parts of it that are nice, and there's other parts that just you're not familiar with, or I'm not familiar with.
In terms of building chemistry, and I know, BJ, that chemistry within a line, having the right mix is very important. Is it more difficult to build that chemistry because you haven't grown up together and played maybe at lower levels?
Yeah, it definitely is, but having school for 2 or 3 months before the hockey season just to get to know them has helped, because then if either one of you guys make a mistake, it's not awkward going up to them being like, we should fix this. So
Right.
At least we know who they are as a person, so we can discuss and have conversations.
Well, you've had quite a history at Mosinee of bringing in some foreign kids that have played hockey. Talk about what that experience is like when you're bringing in somebody from a completely different country, overseas, and talk about that experience a little bit.
Yeah, definitely on the ice it helps us, but I've seen the most off the ice, just learning how they live in a different country, how they act. It's just been cool to learn outside of people that live in the same country as you.
Looking at your game, what do you consider the best part of your game right now, and what is the area that you're trying to improve at personally?
I think the best part of my game is just being open for my teammates, finding open space, like where they just left so they can get me the puck. And I think something I really want to work on is in the defensive zone. There's a lot of times where I'm not in position to get the breakout pass because my instincts aren't there from going from defense right to offense for the breakout. So I want to work on just being quicker with that transition, which will help us with our zone entry and then hopefully a shot and a goal. So
Let's talk about the Marathon Cup. Obviously, it's a significant tournament. A lot of folks around here really love going to it because it's an opportunity for all the Marathon County hockey programs to get together and really have big, energetic crowds. Is the Marathon Cup special to you and your teammates? Do you guys circle it on your calendar, or is it just the next game?
it definitely is. I don't know if that's because West has won for 17 straight years or whatever it's been.
Who's counting, right?
But yeah, it's definitely a big one. Even around school, everybody's talking about it. Like, hey, you going to the game tomorrow? And it's like,
they better be.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's a big one, big point of the season where even if you pull one out and get a win,
right,
that's great. But either way, we gotta keep pushing because they're a great team. So.
What did you learn about last year's championship? It was a real nip and tuck affair.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, went right down to the wire. Do you feel like that you found out something last season in terms of that game that can help you and your teammates this time around?
I think I learned that we just need to go as hard as we can, and then whatever happens, happens.
Do you want to ask him anything, or should I keep going?
No, you're good, Chad.
I know this is a little awkward because you guys play tomorrow night, but
well, at this point, Chad, the game will be decided, so we'll have to figure out what that looks like between the next 20 hours here.
Absolutely. We always ask our student athletes a question. Usually it's for a senior, but I think in this case I can still ask you because you do have some experience. Oh, but actually before the last question, you mentioned you play baseball. What position do you play baseball?
I actually play all over the field, so I can play middle infield, outfield, no pitcher, no catcher, but besides that, I can pretty much do anything.
Is there a similar love of the sport, or are you more of a hockey guy?
I definitely like it, but hockey's definitely my number one.
And that's changed throughout your life a little bit, right? Because you've played a lot of baseball. You ran that circuit a little bit because I've known your dad for a long time, and Tyler's been to some of the camps, and I've had the opportunity to watch him from a young kid. Talk about how the two sports blend a little bit, where hockey can help baseball and baseball can help hockey.
Yeah, just not even the game itself, but just the work that you put into it it helps just like the overall strength training or like the speed training that can cross over to both, but also just the hand-eye coordination. Like in the Pines game, I scored a goal where I hit the puck out of the air. So I was like, that's why I play baseball for hockey, but I love both. So.
Anything else? I go to my last question.
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, the last question we always ask our student athletes is, based on what you've learned, because you've had an opportunity now for a couple of years to be able to go through the process, be in school, be part of these athletic programs. For somebody who's just starting, maybe as a freshman, who's maybe joining the hockey team or the baseball team or whatever it may be, what piece of advice would you give based on what you've learned the last couple of years? Any piece of advice for somebody just starting their journey at Mosinee?
Just put everything you can into it, in whether it's school, sports, friendships. Just put everything you can into it, and in the long run, that will help you out.
Fantastic. Again, really great job so far this season. Again, 9 goals already in just 7 games. In fact, 9 goals in the last 5 games because you didn't light the lamp the first 2 games, but you've been red hot since then, helping your team to a 4-game winning streak. Best of luck throughout the rest of the season. Best of luck here. I don't know why.
You always wish the best for student athletes. It's a competitive game. We both want to win. That's the point of it.
I guess have fun because it's always so much fun at the Marathon Cup. We'll look forward to seeing you on the ice tomorrow, and I really appreciate you coming on by.
Yeah, thank you.
Tyler Baars, again, from the Mosinee Indians junior for the Mosinee hockey team. Again, 9 goals so far, 8 assists as well. Cannot forget those assists. 17 points, helping Mosinee to a 4-3 start and 4-game winning streak here early in the season. We're going to take a timeout and then come back with our second student-athlete guest. This one on the girls' side in high school hockey from the Central Wisconsin Storm. We'll talk to Gabi Heuser. That's coming up next. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO.
Weekend action from the hardwood, plus hoops games to look forward to this week. I'm Travis Wilson, and this is a WisSports.net Minute brought to you by Just a Game Fieldhouse in Wisconsin Dells. More high school sports news after this. You may have heard of Just a Game Fieldhouse in Wisconsin Dells, one of the country's premier destinations for youth sports and events, but did you know that Just a Game does so much more? Just a Game also delivers end-to-end apparel, equipment, and event solutions with their state-of-the-art screen printing and embroidery facility that can help with branding for your team and business items, including uniforms, apparel, and more. Just a Game also offers digital services that include a cashless digital platform and event live streaming. Just a Game has also added a second brand new facility in Reedsburg. Find more information at justagame.com. Basketball action is in full swing as we move into the second week of December, and there were plenty of highlights last week. The Kaukauna boys team finally got its season off and running on Friday, jumping right into conference play against a strong Oshkosh North squad. Trailing by 9 at halftime, the Ghosts roared back to claim an 81-80 victory as junior Andrew Jensen scored off an out-of-bounds play at the buzzer. The 6'9 junior, an emerging college prospect with offers from Illinois and Marquette amongst others, had 24 points and 11 rebounds in the win, overcoming a 40-point effort from Oshkosh North's Zay Mitchell. Mount Horb's Josh Manchester became the school's all-time leading scorer just 3 games into his junior season, pouring in 37 points in a victory over Baraboo on Saturday. In Tuesday boys hoops action, Beaver Dam will travel to Fort Atkinson in a top 10 showdown in the Badger Large Conference. A couple favorites in the Greater Metro Conference will meet up as D1 9th-ranked Germantown hosts D2 top-ranked Wausau West. In girls basketball news last week, Lakeland's Christina Ouimet became the school's all-time leading scorer with a 45-point performance in a dominating win over Medford. The UW Green Bay recruit and 3-time first-team All-State selection has exactly 1,900 points in her career so far. This has been a WisSports.net Minute. Check us out online at WisSports.net.
And welcome back. It is the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction here on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Along with BJ Brandt, I'm Chad Holmes as we go through this Wednesday evening. Again, it's a perfect night to talk about hockey. It's so cold outside. It's you have those frozen ponds ready to go after a couple of days of what we're going to get. But not one, but two student-athlete guests. Thanks again to Tyler Baars for joining us from Mosinee, and now very happy to welcome to the program from the Central Wisconsin Storm, defending state champs. I'm sure you always enjoy hearing that. Gabi Heuser. Gabi, thanks for coming on over.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And get you a little closer to that microphone so everybody in Central Wisconsin can hear you. That's what we want to hear. But early in the season, and the Storm, it's always interesting, so different because you're not in a conference. So basically every game is important in terms of trying to get to where you want to be, which is, of course, a number one seed, and then, of course, trying to get back to state and winning a state championship. And you've started off with a couple of tournaments in addition to the one game down in Stevens Point that I was able to see your team play. 5 games in, 4 wins, 1 loss. What's your overall impression with this group of Central Wisconsin Storm players? Are you feeling pretty good about where the team is at this point of the season?
Oh, yeah. The team is just great. The girls are buzzing right now. Everybody's, getting along really well so far, which is really awesome to see. And we just have so much talent on the team. Like, it's just such a talented group of girls, and we can work so well together. And I think, you can make lines any way you want, and it would just work out so well because everybody's just, having a good time out there. And I think we've played really strong so far. I was talking to you before the show, and we were just kind of talking about how if we can just get those penalties under control, I think that we're looking pretty good because when we're playing 5-on-5 or if we're, up on a power play, I don't think there's a team in the state that we're really too afraid to face.
We'll delve a little bit more into this year's team, but I got to ask you because, it's rare to have the opportunities to win the hardware like you've had. I mean, you're a senior now, and you've been part of 2 state championship teams. I want to ask you, maybe, was there a difference between when you won as a freshman and then when you won as a junior? The feeling around it, because obviously, you're very young, your first year, and winning a state championship during the 2022 state tourney, and then doing it again in 2024. Any difference in the two?
I think that the difference in the two kind of comes in that gap year in there where, I think freshman year, he came in and I was just so grateful for every opportunity I had. I was just happy to be on the ice at all. So, when I was able to, personally to be in that game and score 2 goals, one empty net one, but
they still count.
They don't ask how, they ask how many.
Exactly.
And, that was just a super cool feeling for me, just having that opportunity to be there. And I think it really got hammered home the next year when Hayward beat us in the sectionals. And last season, we won it again, and it just felt so different because I felt what it was like to kind of lose in that situation. And, it also felt like time was kind of running out, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Being my junior year, I knew that senior year's right around the corner, and it just meant something different that time around.
Real quick, BJ, I know that you've said this to me in the past. I can't remember which year it was, but there was a year that West had lost in a playoff, and I think it was that was the champion. It was in 2010.
2010.
Yeah, that you lost a championship that you needed to lose to almost to win. Does that make any sense?
Pete would tell you the same thing. It's just a maturity thing, and you go through it one time and see how close you can get to it, and then you realize there was just a tiny little piece that was missing, or there was a change that needed to be made, and that's a big part of the process sometimes is getting close and realizing it fires you up and you want to get there again and do it again.
You have a question for Gabi?
Yeah, Gabi, you're a multi-sport athlete. You've played a lot of sports in your life. Like, talk about how they all connect you to the sport of hockey and what's your favorite sport and what you love about it.
That's always a hard one.
What's my favorite sport? Yeah, I've played so many sports ever since I was little, and you kind of talking about that. And it all just, has just made me more athletic, I think. And I always talk to my good friend, Dr. Bouch, about he just loves the fact that, I can be on one skate, almost flipped over, and I can still kind of get a shot off because I've just kind of played so many sports. Like right now, probably my second favorite sport is lacrosse, and I just love to play that. It's similar with the stick and things like that, but just a lot of hand-eye coordination, a lot of being able to watch how people move around on the field is very similar to the ice and things like that. And just, staying active, having fun with it, and using my kind of more off-season sports, I'd probably call them, just to get better at being an athlete, just having fun.
Something that I've noticed over the years, and I think the numbers actually bear it out, is when you do get to the playoffs, when you do get to the bigger games, your numbers do seem to grow. And I mean, I think and I was looking actually at your career numbers, and in the postseason, you scored 8 goals. I mean, that's a lot of goals in postseason, especially because the Storm don't play that many playoff games. Because in terms of the bracket, you get to the state tournament rather quickly. Do you have a sense in those bigger moments? Do you feel like there's something that fits you in these kind of games where you have stood out? You mentioned as a freshman getting a couple of goals, and then every year you've been able to be a factor in the postseason. Is there something special about that for you?
I honestly think it's less something special about me and more about kind of what everybody else does. I think a lot of people, get into playoffs and they kind of freak out. And, they're changing their whole pregame routine. They're stretching differently. They maybe warm up like an extra 15 minutes, things like that. They're gripping their stick a little bit tighter. But, I go into every game with the same mentality of I'm just going to do my best. And, I've done all the preparations beforehand. Like, we do practice, every single day and things like that. So I know I'm already as prepared as I can be. So when I walk into that game, I'm usually more calm than a lot of the other girls will be. And I think that honestly is what kind of can set me apart in a lot of those situations, because it's not me who changes. I have the same body, the same skills, and my mindset stays the same. And I think a lot of girls kind of fall off the tracks a little bit there. And I mean, it's always just more fun to score on somebody when you're ending their season. So,
again, we're talking to Gabi Heuser from the Central Wisconsin Storm here on the Big High School Sports Show. Oh, by the way, I always ask the kids from the Storm, which school do you go to? Because there's so many of them.
I go to Wausau West.
And always like to find out, because, I mean, you put together West and East and DC Everest and Mosinee and sometimes some others. There are challenges in co-ops, and there's also, I think, opportunity within co-ops. What's the biggest challenge of being in a co-op? Because you practice at different rinks. I mean, there's you don't see your teammates in the halls of school during the day. What would be the biggest challenge of being part of a co-op?
I would say the biggest challenge is the rinks. Honestly, it's kind of tough. Every Monday we call it Mosinee Monday, worst day of the week. No offense to Mosinee. We, have to.
You know what I think of that place.
You love it, Chad.
Yeah.
So I'm on your bandwagon for that.
Yeah, it's pretty cold there, and you got to drive from my house. It's like about 20 minutes out of the way, so it's just a little bit like and just. Yeah, just everybody having to move our bags is also really annoying. We don't have a locker room at most of the rinks. We only have a locker room at Marathon Park, so that's probably the toughest part, is just kind of having to coordinate everything there.
What's the best part of being part of a co-op?
I have so many friends. I love to meet new people, so it's just super awesome to, make friends on the other side of the river and things like that. It's just super dope to, when I go to a football game and it's West versus Everest, and then I can kind of go over to the other studio and say hi to a bunch of people that I know. I think it's cool. And there are a lot of people who I never would have met if it hadn't been for the co-oping of our team, and I think that's super cool.
Talk a little bit about the balance of being a high school athlete. I mean, obviously you've got the academic side, social side, volunteer side. You're trying to build a resume throughout your career. Talk about that balance and the positives and negatives for you with that.
Ooh, loaded question there. So it's tough. It can get really stressful and things like that. But my most important thing is I always have my family, my friends around me, and my teammates, and it's taught me a lot about how to advocate for myself. I can always talk to my coach and say, hey, I have a really big test tomorrow. I need to leave practice a little bit early and study or something like that. And that's taught me a lot. Or talking to my teachers like, hey, I'm going to miss a game and things like that. Or not miss a game. I'm going to miss school for a game. And it's just taught me a lot about how much I can handle, and just shows me how I can do hard things. And that's something that I really repeat to myself a lot, is you can do hard things. And I use that kind of every single day, because there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of things to do. I wake up in the morning, go to school, kind of grit my way through school, and then I go straight to the rink for a good long while, and Coach loves to give us off ice. And then I go home, do some homework, and then I go to bed and repeat. But I wouldn't have it any other way because I love the sport. I honestly really do enjoy school. I love learning about anything, and it's a lot to balance, but it'll be very useful later on in life as well.
What is your favorite class in school?
Right now, AP Computer Science. I really enjoy programming and things like that. I also really enjoy my AP. Honestly, I love them all. Like my calc class, I love physics. My Spanish class is super awesome. It's a little bit tough, but I still really enjoy it.
Do you have a favorite teacher?
I love them all. I honestly, I'm pretty happy at school most of the time, except for when they give me a lot of work to do. But I really like my Spanish teacher, Senora Weber. She's super, super kind.
Are you looking to go to college?
Yeah, actually. I've been kind of like quiet about it, but I did verbally commit to go to MSOE, Milwaukee School of Engineering, the last week.
Will you be playing hockey there?
Mm-hmm.
As you look at your game, because, and I know that BJ knows this as well, that when you take that next step, there are things you have to be better at. What are the areas that you feel like you have to work on to take that next step to, number one, continue to get better for the Storm here this year and try to add a third championship to your already impressive resume? But as you look forward, what is maybe some of the things that you feel like you have to think about to be ready for that next step?
I think to be ready for the next step, all I have to do is kind of keep my head down and keep working. I think obviously, there's always physical things that you have to get better at. Like I can always get stronger, I can always get faster, things like that. I think mentally, I just have to kind of learn a little bit more of kind of just reading plays, developing more patterns. I already love to be able to tell like where the puck's going to be before it gets there, but I think definitely working more on, again, just being able to read those plays, see where I'm at, and see where the puck's going to be and play there. And all that just takes time and more reading patterns, watching film, things like that.
Talk a little bit about the recruiting process for you. I mean, obviously you've had success in your high school career and you've making the commitment to MSOE, a nice Division III program in the NCHA, and it's a good conference, and just talk a little bit about that process.
So the process was actually surprisingly easy for me. I didn't have that many options because I knew I wanted to do some type of engineering, and I knew I wanted to find a nice D3 school in the Midwest. And after you put those factors in, it really narrows down the search. And I was going to go to a Midwest exposure camp, and before that I sent out an email to their coach, and she got back to me. She was super, super kind, Coach Bailey, just the sweetest person I've ever met. Also, I know that one of the old Storm players, Hannah Bauman, had transferred this year and is playing at MSOE. And I thought that was super cool. And so I went to the camp, got to meet up with the coach in person, just kind of talked to her a little bit. Then we had a phone call, and that went super well. And then I just kind of stayed in contact with her and waited for my acceptance into the school because I had to wait for the academic part. And once I got that, I was pretty confident. And and then she called me the other week, and just kind of told me that I had a roster spot, and I was just over the moon.
Does it take a weight off when the decision is made? Because I know that there's a lot that goes into it, but now do you feel like, now I can just really enjoy my senior year?
Yeah, it took so much weight off my shoulders just knowing that I kind of had a home, I had somewhere to go, and I have somewhere to look forward to and keep working towards. It was a big, big weight. I don't have to think about texting coaches, and I don't have to worry about the fact that, this now won't be my last season playing hockey, so I don't think that, I don't have to get as tense when I'm on the ice. I think that it's just super relaxing to know that I can keep working hard for the future.
When you look at your team, and your next game is Saturday against St. Croix Valley, which is always a good program as well, and for folks out there, we will have that game right here on this very radio station, which is always fun. As you look at your squad, what is the area that you've been around the block, what success is and what needs to be happening for success? What is the biggest question mark in your mind for your team that you have to get better at as you continue this very long process that every winter sports season is?
I would honestly say just we gotta stay out of the box. We gotta play clean, and we just have to keep working as a team. I think we have to look on the positive side, and honestly, the positive side for ourselves. We've done very well this year at telling each other, hey, like, good job, good effort that shift. But I think a lot of times you'll see girls come back to the bench and just kind of sit there and think like, oh, like, I had a bad shift. They get kind of sad on themselves. And I think that the other night we actually had Dr. Bouch come in and talk to us a little bit and have us work as a team to just kind of figure out how to reset ourselves and be more confident in our own abilities. And I think that that'll be super big for us. And I think that, when we go into corners, we got to keep our hands down, we got to keep our feet moving. But overall, like I said before, we just have so much talent on this team. They're just a lovely group of girls, and we just have to keep working together.
Anything else, BJ?
Well, you're going to MSOE. That's a super specific place, right? You're going to be studying some engineering of some type. What if you had to pick a major right now, what would that be, and why?
That one's tough because I really have. It's tough because I really enjoy a lot of the parts of engineering, and there's just so many different things. But I would say right now I'm probably leaning more towards computer science just because I really enjoy learning about all that kind of online stuff and programming things and all that. So,
what do you like to do to relax? Because it sounds like you got a lot on your plate with your studies, with your sports. But everybody needs that time, I think, to reset. What do you do to reset a little bit, or to do something a little different that you enjoy?
Just kind of take my time. When I go home, I'll listen, like in the car and stuff. I like to listen to a lot of music, and that'll really help me out. When I get home, I love talking to my family. They've been super, super big for me this past year, just making me the person that I am, and I really, really love my family so much. And, texting my friends are always a great place to go if I'm really stressed out. I always talk to my girlfriend about things, and just overall, just leaning on the people around me to just have a good time. My family loves watching game shows. Every week we watch Survivor and The Floor, very good show. So just spending time with loved ones.
Very good. Any final questions, BJ, or should I go to my final question?
No, I just I look forward to watching this team. Obviously, I have a lot of angles to be interested in it, but I really enjoyed what I've seen you guys do so far, and look forward to watching you guys on your journey.
As we get to, we always wrap up. Last question is, especially for a senior who's been around the block a few times, obviously, based on your experiences and, everything that you've gone through over the last 3.5 years, for somebody that's just starting, maybe as a member of the Storm program or the lacrosse program, whatever it may be, based on your experiences, what piece of advice would you give somebody that is just starting their high school journey as a freshman?
Surround yourself with love. Do things that you love, and love what you do every single day, even if it's tough. Just find something to be grateful for. Be grateful for the people around you, the things that you have, and things go by pretty quickly. So just love.
You think they go fast quickly now. Wait till you get to my age. But Gabi Heuser, it's been a pleasure watching you over the last 3+ years now. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday on the ice against St. Croix Valley. Best of luck the rest of your senior year. Best of luck when you head off to MSOE. And thank you for coming on in.
All right, thank you for having me.
Gabi Heuser at the Central Wisconsin Storm. We'll take a time out, come back. One more segment to go here on this Wednesday evening. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. Thursday, it's the start of the Marathon Cup hockey tournament with the semifinals. Wausau West, winners of 17 straight Marathon Cups, starts their journey for number 18, taking on Mosinee. Hear all the exciting action on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 5:20 and the opening face-off at 5:30. Wausau West Hockey on WXCO is brought to you by the Cloverbelt Credit Union, Red Robin Restaurant, Sun Printing, Coast to Coast Marketing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, and the Wausau West Hockey Booster Club. It's Wausau West taking on Mosinee in the semifinals of the Marathon Cup. Thursday, starting with the pregame show at 5:20, face-off at 5:30 on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction. K5 Construction is a family-owned and operated custom builder in central Wisconsin that stands out from the rest for its commitment to quality and excellence. From design and planning to the final construction, K5 Construction delivers superior results on every project. And always talk with Jeff and with Jason before him. The best part of the program is when we get a chance to sit down with the kids. I just think that we get a chance to kind of delve into, I think, let people know that there's so much more than what they see maybe on the court or on the ice. The balancing of so much with sports nowadays. I mean, when we heard from your brother, he talked about, these days there's a lot. There's some pressure. There's a lot on the plate for these kids, and it's always wonderful to hear about what they're up to, and especially great to hear when they have wonderful news like being able to continue the academic and athletic career at the college level. And I thought both Tyler Baars and Gabi Heuser were very impressive here tonight.
Just fantastic. I love the thoughtfulness of both of them to reflect on not only themselves, their game, and more importantly, their family and what got them to that point. And both of them, you asked that question about what what they would tell basically a freshman version of themselves, and super thoughtful, reflective answers that just show the maturity that they have and why they're having the success that they're having.
Let's talk about the Central Wisconsin Storm. I haven't done that up to this point, and I mean, when you sit down with somebody who's already got a couple of state championships, that's darn impressive. And in the fact that she was a major factor, not just as a freshman being on the roster, because sometimes you'll see some kids on the roster. She had a couple of goals in the state championships, and the Storm now 4-1. They lost for the first time on Saturday. They played Hayward twice already this season. They beat Hayward the first time around 3-0 at the Gobbler Cup in Mosinee, and then at the University School of Milwaukee tournament, they fell by a score of 3-2 in overtime. And the thing about those matchups are that they are vitally important because they are in the same bracket again. Me and you saw, we covered them in that run to the state championship, and of all the teams that I think we've covered, that was as tough a road to get to the state tournament as you're going to have. I mean, and it's going to be tough again this year, but Storm 4-1 have the same tough competition in their bracket. Any thoughts on what we've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the way they've played, it's been pretty consistent. I was watching the game in between, we were preparing for university school on Saturday and knew this game was going on, so we had it on in Live Barn in my office, and the Storm were up at the time when we left to go out for the period, and we came back in, and I said the Storm game was still on. I'm like, well, I don't know what that means. I thought the game would be over by now. And obviously, they had taken some penalties and given up some power play goals to tie and go to overtime. And unfortunately, I was watching when I saw the game-winning goal go in. And and I'm sure as a coach, when you go through that, you play a team 1 week after you beat them 3-0. There's some challenges that come with that. Obviously Hayward was improved, and part of the Storm game was different than it was the week before, because I thought they were as dominant as they could be when they beat them 3-0 at Mosinee for the Gobbler Cup. I think, obviously some changes were made with Hayward because they're a dynamic. They're a historic program right now. They've got some great talent coming. Just watching them, Gabi said it's a talented group. It certainly is, and it's a group that as they start to gel a little bit and find their roles, I think they're going to have some fun this season.
Let me ask you though, as much as they know Hayward's good, they know it, but they played them the week before. They won the game 3-0. Isn't it natural, especially for young people, to maybe not have the same edge just 1 week later?
Yeah, I mean, you look, they play in 2 tournaments to start it, and it's
odd scheduling.
It's a different schedule, and yeah, you never know what is in the mind of a high school athlete. Is that when you play a team 1 week apart, and as a coach you try to prepare them the same, and it's not the same kids no matter what you do from from that game to the next.
And as I said, Storm number 2 in the rankings, Hayward number 3, and Superior number 4. Again, those are the teams that are all part of that bracket. Let's seed them all statewide.
Well, I think on the girls' side, you could certainly make the argument that you could seed them from top to bottom, or at least half the upper half, lower half, whatever you'd want to do with it to from a geographical part. But their path is always a fight for the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Because I think if you stay out of that 2-3 game, your path is a little bit easier.
Yep.
But I think when you look at that sectional, Wisconsin Valley Union is a much improved team.
Yes, they are.
I mean, they're gonna get better as the year goes on, and they're gonna you hope that they play Hayward tough, and you hope that maybe they bite one of those and get a game from them, because number one, they're talented enough to do it, and two, it certainly helps the Storm's resume if that happens.
And by the way, the number 1 ranked team in girls hockey right now is the Bay Area Ice Bears. And of course, we had the game in the championship when the Storm and Bay Area played, and frankly, watching that game, goaltending was pretty much the difference, because Central Wisconsin had the better goaltending that day. Bay Area had incredible talent. They had incredible opportunities, and they have a lot back, and they got a new head coach who's done the job on the boys' side, and that's obviously a program that's going to be very, very competitive as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Green Bay's roster up and down, they're super talented. Getting Coach Buckin in there, who had a ton of success at Bayport, probably would have had more state tournaments if Notre Dame hadn't resurgent effort in there. He's had some really good teams over the years, and he's going to do a good job with that girls program. I mean, his daughter's in that program, and he's coached most of those girls through their youth hockey career. So, that's certainly a team right now probably deserves the number 1 seed. Number 1.
But they've
ranking.
even lost. I mean, everybody's lost. I mean,
it has, and there's some parity at the top end of the girls' game, and the more
Superior hasn't lost, but they probably haven't come down yet.
Yeah, right. It'll be fun when to watch Storm navigate through that schedule a little bit, because they want to play tough opponents, and you want to play well against them.
And real fast, I mean, the importance of goaltending. I just mentioned it. How the heck can the Storm lose arguably, and I think pretty significantly, the best 2 goalies in the state last year, and it looks like they got a couple of good ones so far this year.
Yeah, you look at obviously losing Claire and Ilsa. Those are 2 fantastic goalies, and they've earned everything that they did a year ago, including the state championship together. And for Cammie and Taylor to come in as freshmen and know that they're going to be leaned on a little bit. Both have performed well at the varsity level when they've had their opportunities, and it's going to be fun watching those 2 develop together, and that goaltending tandem will likely get better as the year goes on.
And real fast, again, we will have the Storm in their next game Saturday, part of a huge day of hockey at Green Heck. They'll be playing at 2 o'clock. The JV will be at noon, but we'll have the varsity at 2, 1:50 airtime against St. Croix Valley. And again, that's always a fantastic girls hockey program as well. Coach Cranston's been there forever, hasn't he?
He's got to be the longest tenured girls coach in the state. I think he's been over there 20 years.
I mean, yeah, I think you're exactly right. They've won 3 state championships, and Central Wisconsin's won 5, so that should be a good one. 1:50 airtime right here on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. And tomorrow we'll be at the Marathon Cup at Green Heck Fieldhouse. Let's talk a little bit about it. Obviously, let's touch on your game, Mosinee and Wausau West. It's a challenge. I mean, you guys put a lot in last night. It's a quick turnaround. It's a big tournament. I mean, we saw Mosinee really wants it. It's a big challenge tomorrow, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, as Tyler sat across from us, I think about the games that I've watched their team play so far this year, whether it would be live and in person or today's world, you can watch pretty much any game you want, and they've got a really good dynamic group that has found a way over the last 4 games to score a lot of goals, and that's been a big part of it. I know he didn't mention the goaltender, but you got Aiden Karsten, who has a ton of experience for them and is somebody that has played well throughout the years. So they've got a pretty complete team, and you look at the other matchup with East Merrill and Everest. It's a conference game. It's a Marathon Cup game, but it's a conference game, and it's really important in the standings in the Valley Conference. But we always look forward to this. I mean, it is such a fun event for a community that also has hockey involved, and I think that's the bigger picture part of it.
And again, I mentioned hopefully the folks that packed the park at Marathon Park yesterday will come out and see some hockey, and 2 games tomorrow, the 3 with the Storm on Saturday. Great venue, I mean, really a fantastic event. Marathon Cup Thursday and Saturday. And again, we'll have Wausau West and Mosinee tomorrow right here on 98.9 WXCO, 5:20 for the pregame and 5:30 for the opening faceoff. And heck, if you want to watch the stream, you can still put the radio on.
You can. I really enjoy listening to the game. Like I've done over the years as I've gotten to know you, Chad, and how much you do for high school sports. Like whether Newman Catholic's playing or whatever, I'll usually pop on the radio and listen to the sports game because there's something to be said about trying to imagine in your brain what's going on out there. I think I really enjoy listening to West football and do plenty of times where we go back and listen to how did Chad call that.
And hockey is a challenge, I'll tell you that much, and I love that. I love the hockey to hit in our last couple of minutes for folks that maybe they tune in normally to listen for the football talk or the basketball talk. Hockey is such a wonderful game, isn't it?
It's a great game. I mean, it's got the hand-eye coordination of baseball. It's got the vision and passing that you see in soccer. It's got the physicality of football. The fitness level that you see in basketball players. That same type of things happen in hockey on an 1/8-inch piece of steel, and the pace of the game is so much fun. Tyler talked about the decision-making process and how the game slowed down for him because of the experience he's had. Like these kids are making rapid decisions on what to do with the puck and what to do without the puck. It's such a fun game to watch, and I would challenge anybody to go watch a game live, sit front row, and just feel the speed of the game because it's such a great game to see live.
And also, don't get frustrated the first time because you do have to develop an eye, I think, for hockey.
Yeah,
whether watching on TV or in person.
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody watches the puck, and I think as you watch the game and
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.